Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're nearly about to start. Are we good to go? Firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening coming out this late evening. This evening, I suppose, firstly, my name is Noel Rowland. I'm Managing Director at Churchfield Home Services. We're a company based in Crossmolina. We're probably one of the local one-stop shop providers. The goal of this evening is to provide as much information as we can in relation to the one-stop shop programme and how Pyrite Affected Homeowners can avail of the one-stop shop grants. I know that there may be a lot of questions. I know that I have quite a bit of information to go through and I still may not have all the answers. So I do ask everyone for a little bit of patience. Everything we know, I'm able to confirm exactly. And anything I don't, I'll certainly just confirm, look, that's something that we're clarifying and that's something we'll get back to. So first of all, I'll just do a brief introduction. So we're proud to be registered with SEAI as a one-stop shop provider through SEAI. Our head office is based in Crossmolina, just out the road, and we currently operate in both Leinster and Connacht. So we've been operating in Leinster for many, many years, and more recently, in the last year or two, we've been working locally in Mayo. We now have projects live in Galway, in Sligo, and our intention is to grow our business nationwide over the next couple of years. I myself am from Crossmolina, so I'm from the local area. We have been registered with SEAI under the grants programme since 2008, and to date we've upgraded over 6,000 homes. So last year we would upgraded over 800 homes. And each year we're looking to build on that year on year. We operate under SEAI's main programmes. So the main three programmes being the one-stop shop programme, the individual grants programme, and also the fully funded Warmer Homes programme. We offer a full range of energy efficiency upgrades from insulation to heating, ventilation and renewables. What makes us different? So we're a little different to the rest of our one-stop shop competitors in the sense that we're trained and qualified to complete all designs in-house. And I suppose the one-stop shop and I don't think I need that. The one-stop shop programme is more than the grant funding. What you get when you participate in the one-stop shop programme is access to much, much greater expertise in terms of design. Obviously the integrated grants, the deduction of the cost of the grants up front. But design is really important. So what we've learned over many years is that we don't depend on any third parties for our design. So our design from a fabric design, our ventilation design, our heating designs, and our solar designs. And we find that when a building or retrofit project is well designed, that's the difference when you hear of a project that's working really, really well and somebody that may have purchased a new house in the last number of years that is not performing like a new house. We don't outsource our designs to any third-party contractors or suppliers, which ensures that all of our designs consider all elements of the retrofit being undertaken and provides an optimum design outcome on each project we undertake. One common issue that I see quite often on new builds sector is where you have a situation where you might hire a main contractor. A main contractor then may hire a plumber to do the plumbing. The plumber then might outsource the labour to a contractor to do the labour, and then he outsources the design to a supplier. And I've seen a lot of the heating system designs coming back from some of our key suppliers in the country, and there'll be a line in it somewhere. It is assumed the home is well insulated. And what I emphasise with people is when you start outsourcing your designs for your heating, for your ventilation, for your fabric, it creates an issue where you can have miscommunication. I've seen a project recently where the heating was outsourced in terms of design and done correctly. The insulation was done by another contractor and done correctly, yet the heating bills were really, really high. The answer was nobody factored in the additional ventilation, and a mechanical ventilation system was fitted where it wasn't appropriate. And that's what happens when you go to individual designs. So we've learned over many years that we need to know, if we take it very seriously, our responsibility of providing advice. We know that people that are retrofitting their homes typically have two opportunities to do it right. Typically when you're doing a new build, and typically maybe 20, 30 years later when the kids might be growing up and you're looking at spending some money in your home again. Typically you don't get any more than two opportunities. And I know for everyone that has been affected by the mica, in terms of pyrite, in one sense I know that I sympathise in terms of the amount of distress and everything that you're going through, but you have got an opportunity now to do it right. And I'm sure everyone in this room wants to do it once now, it's not your first time, and make sure that it's right now and forever. So we also manage all of our installation commissions and all of our system in-house, which allows us to maintain competitiveness and ensure high quality installations. Again, when we compare ourselves to some of our other one-stop shop providers, we have other one-stop shop providers outsource the mechanical services to mechanical specialists. Then they outsource their labour, then they outsource their design. We don't. So we do all of our design in-house, we do all of our advice in-house, we do all of our installation in-house, we maintain and control on materials. So we know that every single project that we do is done to the same standard. We're not a grant administrator for SEAI. One of the things that SEAI have made absolutely clear under the One Stop Shop project, we cannot process a grant for a measure that we haven't installed. So we cannot process grants for works that aren't done. And I know that when I'm going through today, there'll be a number of pathways we'll discuss. I know for people are in different people are in different situations. Some people have not started, some people have started, some people have works almost complete or have completed work, and each situation needs to be dealt differently. The benefits, I suppose, of retrofitting a home, and I think these are, quite widely understood. Primarily when we survey our customers, and we do it every year, you're looking at the enhanced comfort and savings. We're also looking at the value you add to your home. So if you've got an existing home that's a D-rated or a C-rated home, and you upgrade it to a B2 or an A1, the value of your home is going to increase. There has been a recent study published that we were involved with, which was the under the Warmer Home Scheme, where they upgraded up to, I think, over 1,000 homes for people who had health and respiratory conditions, and they've surveyed and they've monitored the health of those occupants, and it can be now proven that retrofitting your home will enhance the environment, your living environment within a home, and create a comfortable, healthy living environment. We all like to say we like to reduce our carbon emissions, and in reality it's nice to do things for the environment once it's cost effective, and obviously then to avail of generous SEAI grants that are available. The one-stop shop service, what is the one-stop shop service? It's a complete home energy upgrade solution for homeowners. So SEAI over many years have been running many pilots. So you might have been aware and understood the deep retrofit pilot that ran back in 2018 and 2019. So we participated in that pilot, which essentially at that time the grant funding was up to 50%. And essentially that was the pilot for what now known as the one-stop shop. So SEAI have done a huge amount of research to understand what are the barriers that are preventing more and more people from upgrading their homes. And they have tried to address and I suppose put together the one-stop shop service that mitigates against many of those barriers. So benefits include a fully managed comprehensive solution, a wider range of SEAI grants available, grant values deducted from the cost of the works up front, a single point of contact throughout the process, and there is a new benefit where anyone available in the one-stop shop can also avail of the Home Energy Upgrade Loan Scheme that will provide homeowners with between €5,000 and €75,000 worth of low interest finance that we'll touch on later. What does the one-stop shop service look like? Well, our typical one-stop shop service, and I do acknowledge the one-stop shop service in general is generally going into existing homes and retrofitting existing homes. So we'll find that, you know, there will be differences and caveats for people that are upgrading, choosing to opt for the one-stop shop service that's also affected by MICA. So generally it includes your home energy assessment, the grant application is completed by the one-stop shop, project management is managed by the one-stop shop, installation of all works, post-BR assessment, and that access to the low interest finance. The grants that are available. So you may be aware, and I'll just quickly run through in terms of the grants that are available through the one-stop shop process. So we've got $6,500 towards the installation of a heat pump. Now there's also another, so if you're installing a heat pump through the individual grants program, you can avail of $6,500. If you do it through the one-stop shop service, you're eligible for an additional €2,000 towards the cost of upgrading the heating system, and also an additional €2,000 launch bonus to achieve your B2. So for the installation of your heat pump, you're getting €10,500 worth of grants as opposed to $6,500. You have 1,500, and I'll just look at the detached, just the first column there. You have up to €1,500 towards the ceiling level insulation, or €3,000 towards rafter insulation. You cannot avail of both grants. It's one or the other. It's the one. So some homes, you might have a cottage with sloped ceiling level where there's cathedral ceilings, and if that accounts for the majority of your ceiling levels, you'll be eligible for this, for the 3,000, but not both. You're eligible for one of the wall insulation grants. Now there's a little bit of information. So typically that's cavity wall, external insulation, internal insulation. This is one area that I don't have full clarification on, where you're knocking and rebuilding your home. I have partial clarification that I can say that if anyone is knocking a home and building it with solid walls and externally insulating it, you are eligible for the external insulation grant. But I know nobody's doing that. I also can clarify that if you're building a 350mm cavity wall and you're pumping that with polystyrene bead, you are eligible, but I know that's not what's being done. There is clarification to be provided regarding homes that have been built with PIR insulation, which is typically a 350mm cavity and 110mm PIR insulation. That clarification is due, I've been told, by early September. And also there will be clarification for people that are knocking homes and building with ICF. I don't have an answer other than that we're expecting that within 3 or 4 weeks. Other grants include windows and doors. So you're up to €4,000 for windows. Doors, 800 per door, maximum of 2 doors. That brings you up to 1,600. Thermal floor insulation, 3,500. Solar thermal, which is just not really been done now. Solar PV up to 2,100. Mechanical ventilation of 1,500, air tightness of €1,000, a home energy assessment €350, and up to €2,000 project management fees. So it is the most comprehensive range of grants. Typically, if you were to take look at the highest values, it comes up just under 40,000. But on average, you're looking at about 25,000 on average is what the grants are working out to be. You have also access to the low interest home energy upgrade loan scheme. So I know again this may be different for people that might be most likely remortgaging, but for some people that may have savings and may be in position to borrow smaller amounts, the home energy loan scheme through the one-stop shop, you will have eligibility to avail of the home energy upgrade loan scheme. So what that includes is a loan values between €5,000 and €75,000, maximum aggregate of 225. So if somebody had more than up to 3 properties, you can avail of the low interest finance up to 3 times. Terms of the loan is up to 10 years. And the loans will be available up to the end of 2026. So this is another measure that has been announced earlier this year. And again, I acknowledge it's not for everyone, but there may be a small few that are in a position to avail of that finance. At the moment, there's the 3 key banks. There will be additional banks that will be coming on stream, but AIB, Bank of Ireland, PTSB are online. The interest rates are ranging between 3 and 3.5%. We do know there are others that will be coming online, including some of the credit unions. So what I'm outlining is a couple of pathways to the one-stop shop. So I fully acknowledge different, people are in different stages of the process. So I'm setting out a home energy assessment pathway, a home energy upgrade pathway, and apply directly to SEAI. So I suppose for homeowners where the building works have not yet commenced and the main contractor has not yet been appointed, this is probably the most, the most suitable option. So typically the home energy assessment process involves a thorough assessment of the current building energy performance to determine the optimum course of action for homeowners retrofit. Now I understand you're knocking your homes, but typically what is useful is to know, like the homes you've lived in, you know how they feel, you know how they perform. So even though you're going knocking the home, to be able to make a comparison between what you're used to and what you can expect is quite useful. It includes a one-to-one customer consultation that clearly explains your current energy efficiency starting point. So one of the key, I suppose, part of the home energy assessment is one of the biggest parts of it is an educational piece. And it involves a consultation with one of our retrofit advisors where you come in, or we do it online, and we go through your existing BER. And again, granted, your homes are going to be knocked, but you know how that feels. And it's looking at things like, what's your existing BER? Is it a D? People can understand typically, a D and an A D being a pass, an A being a good score. But then if we were to say, well, your primary energy consumption at the moment is about 250 kilowatts per metre squared, I don't expect anyone to relate to that. But when you compare to a new build at 50, very quickly you can say, oh God, my existing home is using 5 times the energy. When you talk about the HLI and people say, what's the HLI? The heat loss indicator. You say your heat loss indicator is 4. Is 4 good or bad? Well, a new build is 1.5. And then you're thinking, I'm below average, I'm using 5 times the energy, I'm losing 3 times the amount of heat. It gives you a starting point to work from. It emphasises the importance of adopting a fabric first approach. So a fabric first approach is where, regardless of what type of heating system, and different people may have different biases or different preferences for a type of heating system, but the first thing you want to do is you want to reduce the overall heat loss, and you want to get that as low as possible. The lower that heat loss, the less, even if you're back to buckets of coal and turf, it's going to mean the less amount of fuel. So it's about focusing on the fabric first approach, understanding the HLI. The lower that HLI figure, the less energy, regardless of your heat source, is going to use. And then we break that down element by element. So if we talk to people and we say, okay, we're going to look at your roof and we're looking at 300 mil, and you build as 0.13 of a U value, we can achieve that by the 300 mil. Let's look at the walls, and people will say, I heard lots of people say, the ICF is a great, fantastic way to build a home, and it is a very good way, but very few people know what U value in the wall is compared to what you should be aiming for, and how that relates to a HLI factor. We go through windows and doors, we go through in terms of roof, floors, and so on and so forth. And again, people might say, but sure, it's all the same. Well, if I was to explain to people, if you're, the floor insulation that you require is different, the minimum standard is different if you're considering underfloor heating as opposed to putting in radiators. Most people don't know this. And in a lot of cases, quite a lot of builders don't know it either. And this is, these are just the little bits of nuggets information that we can offer. The advantage of importance of air tightness. I spoke to somebody just outside, and they just mentioned a lot of people building new houses, and you hear some people building new houses and they're brilliant, they're really, really good, and other people who are building new houses and they're not getting the benefits they'd expect. And part of the consultation, we emphasise the importance of reducing the air leakage within a home. So when you're doing a deep renovation, and like all of you, anyone affected is going to demolish your home or is close to, you can expect to target your air leakage down below 1 air change per hour. Now people might say, well, sure, what one air change? Make some comparisons. So I make the comparison where a hollow block house that's badly built, typical estate house, you could have an air leakage up on 13. If that's retrofitted, you could get down to about between 5 and 7. So there's quite often we see situations where you could have two builders building an identical home, identical plans, identical level of insulation, identical heat pump, and both of them will have the same BER. Yet one builder got his air leakage down to below 1 and the other one came in about 7. The impact to you at the very end of that project is the home that had the air leakage is 7 will use over 70 kilowatts a square metre as opposed to 35. It will use double the electricity to heat that home. And at that stage, it's too late for everyone because everything is plastered up, all the tapes are done, your opportunity is missed. And it's another thing to be aware of where you as homeowners, if you understand the importance of air tightness, and then your builder knows that you know, they'll be making much more of an effort. But so as part of the consultation, we explain the importance of air tightness, we explain the impact that it has on the running costs, but then we also explain the need for ventilation. And quite often people don't realise, so we want to reduce the air leakage as low as possible, but then when we do reduce it, we also need to introduce mechanical ventilation because inadvertently we can trap a lot of condensation in a home. So we shower, we wash, we cook, we clean, that creates moisture. So if you achieve your air leakage below 3, you must put in a mechanical ventilation system. So quite often builders think it's optional. It's not optional. You want to get the air leakage as low as possible. If it goes below 3 and you're doing a good job, you need a mechanical ventilation system. Anyone designing, installing or commissioning a ventilation system needs to be certified. That's part of the building regulations in 2019. Yet there's a lot of situations where systems have been fitted and they're not been commissioned or validated correctly. The need for an accurate heating design. So we've all heard good and bad stories in relation to heat pumps. I can factually say that heat pumps are the most efficient way of generating heat. Full stop. What happens though is if heat pumps are installed in homes that are not heat pump ready, so they operate like a fridge in reverse. You don't leave the door of your fridge open or it's not going to run very efficiently. But equally, you don't plug your fridge in on and off or switch it on and off when you leave at the weekend. So heat pumps, so we monitor about 150 heat pumps on an ongoing basis. We can see the actual efficiency and the COPs on those, and we can see where the design is properly done, they're installed properly, they're commissioned properly, you'll have efficiencies between 300% and 400%. Now we can equally see a lot of heat pumps been installed where the heating system design is not done accurately. And what happens is, if radiators are oversized, it causes short cycling. It's like driving in traffic and you're stopping and starting. It'll work for a time, but your bills will be a lot higher. And the other thing is, not alone will your bills be a lot higher, but it'll shorten the time, the lifespan that you can expect from your heat pump. If your radiators are undersized, in a cold day or cold winter, your room won't heat. And a plumber might just turn up the heat, the flow temperatures up high to get your room to heat, and then you're going to pay it in that. So even in the last, I would say recently in the last month, we had a situation where we had an installer about to putting down underfloor heating that had to be taken up. And if we hadn't done, and sometimes people might ask, why choose a one-stop shop? It's not just the grants, it's the technical expertise that we provide. In that situation, if we didn't do the inspection, there would have been a floor screed down on an underfloor system that would never heat to its optimum level. Simple as. So we focus on that. We focus on, in terms of all your options in terms of solar. And I suppose our technical advisors we've put a lot of work in terms of training our advisors to be really well qualified and experienced to be able to advise really well in this regard. touched on, it enables you to avail of the low interest finance, and there's a grant towards the home energy assessment of €350. The home energy assessment package includes, so I've grayed out some of these things that aren't particularly relevant in your situation, but for a typical house, it includes a laser scan survey, 3D model, pre-BR. We're a choice of 2 upgrade plans. So typically we prepare, before consultation, we prepare 2 upgrade plans. We prepare the minimum and we prepare the optimum. And then we can compare costs and paybacks and grants with both. And then it allows us to, I suppose, we ask people to come into the consultation without a bias, and let's just talk openly about what the optimum solution is. We have an estimated cost for the 2 upgrade options. We have the detailed customer consultation to choose the most optimum solution. And then through that consultation, what I find is somebody says, well, actually I have plans to put on an extension. Or perhaps, you know, I'm looking at doing other work down the line. It also includes a technical assessment based on your chosen upgrade and a detailed home energy assessment report. So typically the cost of a home energy assessment ranges between like €700 and €800, less than €350. It's about a spend of €500. And what I would say to people is, anyone considering, I suppose, just on the retrofit point of view, spending up to €80,000 on retrofitting a home, less the grants of 50, €500 is a sensible investment. In your situation where you're looking at spending multiples of that rebuilding a home, I think it's very advisable. Second option, the main steps that this process includes is to contact, so for anyone that hasn't started your project or appointed a builder, is to contact a one-stop shop or request a home energy assessment. Typically what we're seeing and we're working out to be the best approach is that your architect and engineer provides the OSS with the digital copy of your plans, so you have got upgraded plans, provide those to us that we can base our design on. The one-stop shop carries out the home energy assessment, issues the HEA report to the homeowner. The cost of the energy efficiency works net of the grants should be included as part of the tender package, and the one-stop shop should be included as a nominated subcontractor. So for people that haven't started, you've got time to get your home energy assessment, get the design optimized, and include that as part of your tender package to your builder. For homeowners who've gone further than that, it's a little bit more complicated. The OSS can carry out the works as a subcontractor appointed to the main contractor or as a standalone contractor. The architect engineer is required to sign off OSS payments. So at the end of the project, we have declarations of works that we need to sign off to claim the grants, and the engineer and architect are required to sign that, co-sign that with ourselves. The homeowner pays the one-stop shop directly, or the main contractor, who in turn pays the OSS for the works completed. So where you haven't started the work, it's relatively straightforward. The home energy upgrade pathway, where buildings works have started, a main contractor has been appointed, but the energy efficiency works have not commenced. So for people that have, at the stage where you've demolished a house, you have a contractor on site, works have started, but you don't have windows, or you don't have a heating system, you don't have solar PV, you can avail of the one-stop shop program through this pathway. The pathway includes, it's faster than HEA. So where a project is on site, time is of the essence. You've got a builder, and one of the things I'll stress, important notes to consider, is where you've contract in place with your existing builder, you do need consent, and you need your builder to work with you to introduce a one-stop shop. If you have a contract in place, the contractor can say, well, I've signed a contract to deliver the works, I'm just going to deliver the works. So that's the conversation, and that'll need to happen on a case-by-case basis. The home energy upgrade usually follows the home energy assessment. However, if a project is already on site, it's faster to skip the home energy assessment process and go straight to the HEU stage. So essentially the HEU stage provides the detailed retrofit designs for each element of the work that's been carried out to ensure that an optimum retrofit design is achieved. Homeowners may choose to appoint a one-stop shop as a subcontractor to the main contractor or as a standalone contractor. The fabric, so the home energy upgrade fabric design includes the fabric design, ensuring the HLI factor is under 2 or as low as possible, or giving you options. providing an air tightness strategy to reduce your air leakage below 1 or as low as possible. So we can give tips and tricks to your builder before he starts on how to get, how to put in his air tightness membranes. So like there's some just handy things to know, and you could be engaging with a really good builder that's a really honest and wants to do a good job, but there are little things that we've seen that we can share with your builder on how to do it easier and better. It includes a ventilation design for your mechanical ventilation. Again, if you're assuming that anyone that's not, rebuilding a home, you should be going for as low air leakage as possible, which means you need to be considering a mechanical ventilation system. It also includes the room-by-room heating system design for heat pump, the controls, the underfloor, the radiators, or a combination of both. And we also include an optimum solar PV design, including PVGAS, estimation, generation, and expected rate of return. PV is really good. One of the concerns I have about PV at the moment, however, is PV is a bit, it's a bit like a dessert. It's great at the end. And what's happening at the moment is the figures that have been published in relation to the number of homes been upgraded to a B2 or higher is being slightly inflated, where a lot of people are upgrading their homes by adding solar PV. And what's happening is that by using the solar PV to upgrade their homes beyond a B, they're not eligible for the one-stop shop then later. So our advice to anyone, whether it's through this scheme or considering upgrading your home, that PV should be one of the latter options you add at the end and not something you do at the beginning. So you should be looking at availing of either the individual installation grants or the one-stop shop grants, where you can avail of the window and door grants and other mechanical ventilation grants and such. Avail of those first and then tag on solar. But I really do highly recommend, especially where you're installing a heat pump, solar PV really complements a heat pump. But not to confuse, your solar panels are not going to run your heat pump. Your solar panels will, in the summertime, will offset your energy bills in the wintertime. So we typically, where a heat pump has been installed, look at how you maximise the solar PV output, and then provide like a range of measures from either flat roof, pitch roof, or even some situations in the country, a ground mount system would be an optimum solution. Main steps include contact an OSS to request a home energy upgrade package. Again, share the architect engineer provides the OSS with a digital copy of the plans for the OSS to use for part of the retrofit design process. OSS carries out the technical assessment, issues the technical assessment to the homeowner. OSS will provide a quote for the energy efficiency works that includes the deduction of all SEAI grants. Now, where you have a situation where people have started the works and the windows are in, we're not in a position, we as an OSS, and all OSSs are audited by SEAI on a quarterly basis. So we have our audit next week actually, and we need, for all our OSS projects, we have to provide the quote, we have to provide a contract that matches the quote, and we have to provide all invoices and payments and receipts to match it. SEAI's explanation is, where they're providing taxpayers' funds, they must be able to demonstrate that the funds were used to pay towards the service, and they cannot do that if the one-stop shop provider did not provide the service. So in that situation, you can have a situation where if some works were, a homeowner could choose to say, okay, well, the windows are in, we can't claim the grant, but we can claim the grant for the rest of it, and there is a third pathway. The one-stop shop carries out the work as a subcontractor or appointed to the main contractor as a standalone contractor. The architect engineer signs off the OSS payment claims, and the homeowner pays the OSS directly or to the main contractor, who in turn pays the OSS when the work completed. And it is always the net amount. So it's the total cost less the value of the grants. The grants are paid to the OSS at the very end of the project. The third route is the route where I don't have as much information. And I said at the beginning, what I know, and what I don't. So where projects are largely complete, where the building works are largely complete, the energy efficiency works are largely complete, SEAI have instructed that the third route is you need to apply to SEAI directly. you apply, and I'm sure you're familiar in terms of their website, there's a form to fill. You submit the form. What do I know about what happens next? Not a huge amount. What I have been told is that they are working on something that will allow people to cater for homeowners who have had to proceed with the works while they're waiting for all this to come through. Like we were told, we had a meeting last December where we were told the decision on this was imminent. So we understand, things have taken, longer. It's above our pay grade, but for homeowners in that situation, we do know that there is going to be a process. All that we can say is you apply directly. We're not going to be able to process those applications, but something is coming. How soon? We've been told we can expect information by early September. I cannot say any more in respect to that. Important things to consider. So both the HEA and HEU pathways will consider consent by the main contractor if already appointed, and the energy efficiency works are already included as part of their main contract. That is something that we need to be mindful about. It doesn't mean we cannot work with a contractor, but we need to, a contractor needs to be open to bringing a one-stop shop on board. OSS cannot process grants for works that has not been paid for, and we're audited quarterly on this. SEAI's quality assurance oversight on all measures that are grant aided is extremely tight, which means that all measures of work must be designed and installed 100% in compliance with all regulations. So, you want to be sure in terms of to ensure that you're comparing apples with apples when you're comparing prices. I've seen from time to time, maybe ventilation, couple of measures, and you're looking at some prices and you're just saying they're not quite right. So you do want to be mindful. And one key advantage with the one-stop shop is the design and the quality assurance of what you're going to get. Our approach is we understand that every homeowner's requirements will be different. That projects where works have already commenced will be complex. In some cases, it will be a new challenge to work alongside existing builders, particularly where contracts are in place. We will try and adopt a tailored approach wherever possible, and we don't yet have all the answers. So we'll put our hands up and say we're in the process of starting works on a number of these projects. Have we completed any yet? No, we're still just ironing out how best to work on this. But we do know, given the volume of homes that are affected, it's only just going to take some time until we iron this out. So for homeowners that have not yet started, I think it'll be quite, reasonably straightforward. For homeowners that have started, we need to take a case-by-case basis. And for homeowners who have the works largely complete, your application will be directly with SEAI. And again, I suppose just reiterating those choices, you can avail of the one-stop shop OSS grant support through Register One-Stop Shop where the energy works have not started. You also can avail of the individual energy upgrades grant support through individual Better Energy Homes registered contractors where works have not yet commenced, or maybe you have works commenced and they are registered. You're in a position to avail of the individual grants. But the difference with the individual grants is there's not the same range of grants available. So you're down to 6,500 for a heat pump. You don't have anything towards project management. You don't have anything towards mechanical ventilation or air tightness or the bonus measure for the heat pump or the radiators. So it is a lower level of grant aid, and you can apply directly to SEAI to avail of the OSS where works have started and near completion. I suppose, thanks for listening. I expect that there's probably going to be quite a few questions, and I think that's where the value of this evening's meeting will come from. So thanks very much, and I would like to open the floor to any questions you might have.